the only fast food I was allowed to have was In and Out because I wanted
Oh,
to try all
wow.
these things that I'd heard of. Yeah, well, like my girlfriend was sort of taking me around, going, "Oh, you should eat here, you should eat here," and it was all like nice home, run family run kind of things, which was probably the better thing to do. But I wanted to try all of these things that I'd heard of that you can't get in the UK. But In and Out seemed good. I don't know if
Eh,
there's some corporate dodginess, but I don't know. I don't want to like affiliate myself with them in some way. But
is is your girlfriend from California?
she lived there since she was about 10,
Oh,
but she's
okay.
not from
Well,
there.
that's why she's hung up on In and Out. I mean, I never understood the what's the word, the hype about it. I
Yeah,
mean, I lived in California for a few years. I had it. You wait in line forever, and it's like I could have made this. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
now now I'm gonna get some hate from Californians, but I'm used to that. So
I start this video by thanking my Patreon supporters who help make it possible for me to make a living teaching subjects of my expertise in the world's most beautiful places. And to everyone who buys my books, thank you so much.
we last did this like 4 months ago
Yeah, yeah.
because
Uh,
everything, all this stuff happened. I was gonna say I had a new idea that I thought might be nice. Um, so are you still reading from the Harrison Sharp text that's online?
I am. Yeah.
What I thought we might do is, regardless of who's reading, actually one of us screen share that text.
Okay.
Um, actually, it might help if the one who's not reading screen shares it so that he can scroll up while the other one reads from whatever he wants to read from.
Yeah.
Or
That's
because I'd rather read from Klaber, but also having the Harrison and Sharp text actually on the screen might help people at home who don't have the old English text, and also for editing this video later, it means the text is already there. You don't have to worry about where you're going to put it on the screen.
that's true.
Uh,
Yeah. Hang on.
I thought that might work. And
Yeah.
I
Hang on.
apologize in advance for being a little bit sick.
Oh no, that's all right. I mean, if you because you said you have to. I mean, it doesn't normally take more than 3.5 hours anyway, I think. But if you feel like you have to head out, if you feel like you have to pop up early, that's obviously fine.
There's
Um,
something a little bit funny about this. Doesn't normally take more than 3.5 hours. I mean, these are long. Well, actually, these are not our longest fits by any means. These are shortish.
no, these are pretty short.
However, they're tough. I felt like when I started looking at mine, 12 and 14, I was like, did I get worse at Old English in the last few months, or are these just harder? And I think they may actually just be sort of harder.
Yeah, I had a bit of difficulty with them. I think my difficulty was largely with again following the narrative, which I can never tell if it's because I'm bad at following narratives anyway, or if it's because, well, I think in this case it's because there's a lot of kind of drawing in other stories that maybe it's assumed that the listener will have heard before, but obviously you haven't necessarily as a modern. I think some of them might be kind of Volsung adjacent, though I'm
Oh
not
yeah,
sure. Yeah, okay.
oh yeah, totally. I mean, this the Siamund and Fitla um, digression that's in 13, right? Um, One thing I was kind of wondering, you know, I really did feel like the language just suddenly got harder. Um, I wonder if there are more parts here where the poet is kind of scavenging from other sources. And so we're
Mm,
getting some, like, not necessarily quotations, but sort of, while he's kind of paraphrasing or leaning on older sources, he's using some weirder language.
yeah,
Um,
fits exactly in the. I noticed. I can't think off the top of my head, but I'm sure I noticed some bits where certain words were spelled differently to how they had been spelled earlier in the text.
yeah, and in fact, in the commentary by Bulk and Bjork and Niles and Kleber, there were a few places where some weird word choices, um, I wish I could remember one off the top of my head, were explained as being potentially um, quoted from, well, if there were like an ink, what was it, like a Mercian exemplar where you have a Northumbrian scribe, things that
Mm,
the Northumbrian scribe might be hyper correcting toward Northumbrian pronunciation
yeah,
without understanding that it's not the word that he thinks it is. Um, so that's interesting.
yeah,
Um,
that's good. You didn't know that.
but I also kind of felt like, um, see what you think of this thought. Um, I feel like the language got really nouny really fast. Um, you know, like all of a sudden it's just it's like this almost more like chancery style or something. Just it just it's all these nouns all the time. Like I found myself sometimes thinking like where's the verb phrase? But
I in a kind of slightly different way. I hit certain bits where I thought there's too many adjectives here, and I can't work out which noun they're modifying.
yeah, that too, yeah. So interesting, like it does seem to have shifted, and I don't think that it's just that it's been a few months since we did this. I think that the language is a little bit different here.
Cool.
So another thing that'll be interesting here is since I'm reading from Weber, we might be able to spot some discrepancies, and
Mm,
some of those might be interesting in and of themselves. Why are different editors making different choices?
yeah. Yeah.
Because it's one manuscript.
Can everyone see that fairly clearly? Cool, 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 cool.
Um, what else should we say before we get into it? A couple of the disclaimers we've made before. Simon's and my pronunciation is different. I have, I guess you would call mine older school. Um,
Yeah.
the
Um,
line numbers are going to be different depending on what kind of edition you have, because what you see on the screen or what I read from is using half lines. So you can see there's the big caesura between half lines. Um, but other editions will treat those half lines as full lines, and then you will have line numbers that are twice the number of what we're citing here. So, for example, um, let me pull up this complicated app called the calculator and say that we are starting with what we see here as 791, but that would be 1582 if you're looking at an edition that treats as half lines as full lines. For example, Ringler's translation, which I still recommend among English translations.
another disclaimer I would say is that I my interest is mainly in pronunciation, and although I'm getting better at the morphology thing, I do still sometimes get cases wrong. I think that's been improving over the course of the series. But if you notice what seems to be a mistake that I've made about cases, then it's probably because it is a mistake. Um,
Well, then I will mercilessly flay you for those.
oh, please do because I need to learn.
Actually, there's some pretty hard words in here in terms of like what case is this, what gender is this, where it could actually make kind of a difference.
I'm
Um,
glad to hear you say that.
oh
It's
well,
reassuring.
I mean, like I'm not. I've as far as Old English goes, uh, where is my? I have that one grammar. Uh, it's not anywhere that I can grab it quickly. That's got all the historical forms, which is pretty cool. But morphology is definitely within my wheelhouse, and it helps that Old English and Old Norse morphology are pretty close. All right, I guess I'll get started here on Fit 12. Um, so while I'm reading, are you just going to scroll and kind of keep up?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we can figure out how to do it when you're reading. Maybe we'll just switch off. All right. Nolde erle cleo ania thinga fona quailum cuman quickne for latan. Ne his lead dagas leo da angum nutta tailde. Theria nehos bread Beowulfs el de lave, wolde freya driftnes feor elvia. Maris theotnes, there he mechton swa. Ie tätne wisdom för hie je windlugan, herd igende hilde mejas. Ondon helva je hone heawen thoppan, saule secha. Thone synshadan ääni over eordan yren matjust, gudbillen an, gretan nolde. Ak he sie wapnen forsvoren hävde, edja je hultre. Skjolde his Aldoriadal on tham deie Thyssus lives ärende svurdan. On se elorgast on feonda javeon feor sivia. Tha that on funde se the fella error modes myrde manakynne. Fyrenne je fremmede. He was far god. That him se lichoma lasta nolde. Ak hennes modiga mig hylakas hävde behånda. Väs jag skär odrun livjande lag. Lichsar jag bar atol lätcha. Him on exla where syndol sveotol. Senua on sprungon. Burston banloka. Beowulf where gudhed givede. Skjolde grendel thonan feorseok fleon under fenfeodu. Sechean winleas witch. Wiste tha jerna. That his aldres was ende je gongen. Dogre däri. Denum elum were after tham walrese. Willa je lumpen. Hävde tha je fälsad seta feoran kom. Snotor on Swedver, sella Hrothgares, genered with need. Nicht werke je fech, ellen nardum. Hävde estenum jeat megaleo, hjälpten mästent, svulche on kythe ele je bete, inwid sorge, de hia brugan, on portrea nydum, olian shogan, torn unnyttig. That was taken sweartol, sithan hildedeer hund alede, und exler. There was ale jedor glindless graffe under jepne krov. All right.
Very, very good.
So, thank you. So I get his fight with Grendel. I should note that the Old English text does not provide for him being naked during the fight with Grendel, as far as I know, as popularized by
the CGI
the
film.
Yeah, from about 15 years ago. My brother dragged me to. All right, so the protector of Earls, I'm going to guess that's Beowulf, Eirlafleo. He did not wish Nolde by any means, Ania Thinga, to let on the murder visitor, Huayum Kuma, be alive quick enough. Um, or he did not wish the murder visitor to leave for Laton alive quick enough. It's probably better. Uh, he did not count Netelda his life days useful for any people, Leoda Angum, which I think is pretty litotic.
Mm. That's a good insight as
Uh,
well.
yeah, Beowulf is full of this lightides where you have dramatic understatement. So he didn't think his life days were useful, i.e., he thinks, um, you know, Grenda's life is the opposite of useful. It's bad. There, nearly in Nehost, um, probably like nearly every um,
Obviously.
being a superlative to Yanecha, which is like sufficient or mostly. What were you going to say?
Oh no, I was just agreeing with Nehos.
Um, Nearly every Earl of Beowulf, Man of Beowulf, Geats, drew, bragged, an old heirloom, held aloft, presumably a sword, um, and still taking each Geat as the subject, he wanted Volda to protect Aelgian, the life of his lord, Friedrichness, of his famous lord, Maris Theodas, where they might do so. There he Americans flaw. Interesting that in that last clause, we switch to plural, even though
Mm.
previously it's been singular verbs talking about each one, and then it kind of switches to a plural, all of them, which sometimes people consider sloppy style in modern English, but apparently could be done in Old English too. Um, they didn't know was that name when they performed strife. Drugon, Ewen, probably just fought the hard-thinking fighters, Hared, Hidden, and Hildimages, and they seemed Photon to strike Haelon on each half on Johanna Helva. So they're battering him from both sides, some around his left, some around his right. To seek his soul, i.e., to kill him. Um, any choicest of irons, any chist irina, so best like swords upon the earth over Eridon. No war swords, non Guthbila, um, would not touch Nolda Graton, and then two lines back up, that hostile damage. So they didn't know that no weapon could hurt the monster. Thona Sin Shala, this like sin or hostile damager. But he, okay, had um, forsworn, but in this sense, probably the primitive sense of for. Um, so he had like magically cursed. Um, Victory weapons, see a weapon, each uh, each blade, the Wiltra edge with dative objects for that forswearing verb. His separation from life, Alder Yadal, of this life, this is Libus, um, should, uh, should become Shoulder Worthon, poor, miserable Eremlich on that day, on that day, and that elsewhere spirit, so like his soul and spirit, travels Cevion far away, Feor, into the power of devils on Feonda the Wailed. So Soul's, I guess, going to go to hell. Um, then the one who earlier saith Auror perceived that on Fundeth that in his heart's affliction, modus mirda, against mankind, Monocuna, performed pain, Nephrimina Urina. I don't know. I'm not even totally sure who the subject is right here.
No, hang on.
Like, I guess it could depend on what I'm doing with Ornfunde. Um,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
yeah, I've looked at this a few times and not been totally happy about what's happening here. Part of it is that, as the commentary also says, that the Mirtha sort of hard to know what to do with. People have taken it as related to three really different mood nouns, right? Because this could be related to mirth, it could be related to murder, it could be related to a noun that means affliction. Um, all of these giving you weirdly different vibes, as the kids say, I think.
Yeah, like my instinct would be to like look because I know the word. I'm pretty sure that that word more clearly meaning not that word, but that root more clearly meaning murder is somewhere else in the poem. But given how much spelling varies, I don't know if it's even useful to look for.
No. Um, because it might be like Neo or the Neo are, yeah, I don't know. But then this next part, clearly him, he was hostile against God. It's clearly Grendel. Um, yeah, so that uh, the body would not avail him, nor the last on him. But the brave son of Higelac, Higelac had him by the hand, Abda Hinna, the Honda. And then I like this phrase. This is also, it's not exactly Laertes, but it's just a fun phrase. Um, each one was um, hateful living to the other. So, like, the fact that that the other was living was hateful to the other. I don't know. It's a neat way of just saying, you know, they hated each other. Um, a bodily wound, a leech sar, awaited, or actually, I guess he's the subject. The evil fear striker, the monster, awaited a bodily wound, um, a clear hostility wound, Sindel, um, happened to him on his shoulder, axilla. The sinews um, sprung out. The bone locks burst, and battle glory, Guthrie, was granted to Beowulf. Give it that Beowulf. Grendel should flee life sick, so mortally sick, mortally damaged, bear sick. From there, Thonon, under the protection of Ben Marsh, Ben clearly seek his joyless harbor when they reach. He knew the more surely the Yerenor that his life's end, Aldris Enda, was reached, Wes Yagongan, uh, the day count of his days, day
The
count of
date.
his 24-hour period. Right? I mean, it's too words from the same word, right? And they count up as days. And it's just like, yeah, the count of his days is done. I'm going to judge the poet and call this pretty lazy de-alliteration when he used just two words for day.
Yeah, I wonder how that would have sounded back then. I wonder if that would have been layering words that mean the same thing on top of each other would have been considered like stylistically good in the same way that because I know there are storytelling traditions where being quite repetitive is good, is seen as good. So I wonder if it's like a good thing or if it is like lazy.
I mean, in Norse skaldic poetry, it's generally considered bad form unless you're just seeking refuge in audacity and just literally using the same word like 10 times. And then people kind of be like, okay, kind of, it's kind of clever, funny, or something. Um, this just strikes me as like a pop song where they rhyme fire and fire.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm judging, taking a point off. Um, all right. So for all the Danes, there happened gratification will was befallen where the Lumpen after that deadly conflict, after Walrasa. Uh, that one who had come from far away earlier, saith the poem Baron Air, had purged them, cleansed them, Yafalsod Thaw, um, and that one. In Beowulf, he is wise, Snotor, and tough-minded, sweet fair. To the hall of Hrothgar, say what Hrothgar is saved um, against hate in Nerid with neither. And it's interesting that that quote uh, that I and a lot of other people like so much about fate, weird, saving a man whose courage holds, uses that same verb
Mm.
here for what Beowulf is doing. Used to be Grendel, yeah, Narion. Um, he rejoiced in the night work, in the courage fames, Ellen Marathon. I don't know who he is, but I guess it might be Beowulf, it might be Hrothgar, but it's a singular verb. Um, the people of the Geat son, so the Geats, had carried out, lasted a boast yelp to the East Danes, put right, Yabeta, all such unknown things, all such unknown inward sorga, evil sorrow, which they earlier endured, Herr Drugon, and uh, should endure Tholion for like extreme needs, extreme emergencies, threatening them, unlittle anger. So
I like this unlittle that gets thrown around a few times.
yeah, very litotic.
Yeah.
It was a clear token, Sweatel Taken, afterward, the battle brave one, assuming Beowulf, Hildedir, laid down the hand, the arm under the shoulder, so implying that it's this whole thing that's taken off from him. There was altogether Ilgird or Grindel's grip, so his whole arm, under the curved roof, under Yepna Grove.
I feel like
Uh,
the best a lot of the time the most fun composition always comes towards like the end of a fit. Like the most fun
oh
I
yeah,
think of
well, like a good, I don't know,
a good
pop song or like memorable poem. There's something that wraps it up that kind of sticks with you. I mean, Not an easy fit. I had to look up a lot of words, um, probably more than any other fit that I've done. And I don't just think that it had been a few months. Um,
Yeah, I mean, like
it's hard here.
it didn't seem like you found the first one especially hard right at the start, so I don't see why a few months
No,
would make.
I think this is just hard.
Yeah,
I think he's part of it is he's trying to be fancy for his big climatic moment.
mm,
Um, but also, I mean, part of it is there could be an exemplar that's in somewhat weird language from um, the scribe's perspective. So there could be some things that are actually not right. Although there's only a few places where it's confusing. Um, Another possibility is that it's such a weird action scene that maybe the poet is just reaching for particularly weird words just to try to get that alliteration in because you're talking about something kind of weird, right? It's a guy tearing this monster's arm off, um, which,
true. Yeah,
like,
like the weirdness that just kind
excuse me,
of.
like knowing to expect that um, actually made it easier to understand what was going on. I don't know that if I had no idea what was going on here, that I would have immediately said like, "Oh yeah, he's tearing this thing's arm off," right? Um, it's not
Yeah,
super clear.
there's like a bit where it dips into being fairly explicit about kind of the shoulder getting ripped off and everything, but it's definitely like it kind of weirdly fluctuates in clarity.
Yeah.
I think it's one of
Uh,
those like the whole thing probabilistically shows you that the arm's been taken off, but if you pick out any specific bit of it, you're like, I'm not sure exactly what's going on.
yeah, it makes me wonder if the audience actually kind of knows already. Um,
Maybe, yeah,
but if so, it's interesting because this story is not referred to anywhere else. Right? It's possible that this is a much better known story in modern English than it was in Old English. Just this is no reference to it elsewhere.
true. Yeah. That's a weird thought. That's a
Yeah,
weird
isn't
thought.
it? Um, but it's possible because I mean, not that all of Old English literature is preserved, obviously, but it's interesting that it's never referred to elsewhere, even though it refers to tons of other stuff. Right?
Yeah.
It's a much more referential than reference poem, as
It,
we're going to see quite a bit of coming up in your part.
yeah. I'll hang on. How are we gonna do the would you mind doing the screen share so I can keep track of scrolling and stuff?
Yeah, so you read it off of yours, and I'll just have it up on Zoom for everybody else.
Yeah,
Let me
cool.
let me find this real quick here.
That may be record time for a fit, by the way. I think that fit itself probably took about half an hour. It taking into account that we talked for a bit beforehand.
Well, cool.
It's good
Um,
going.
and I was even kind of taking time to gloss the old English here and there, so it's not bad. Let's see if I can blow this up a little bit. Let's see if I can get the screen share going. All right, I'm just going to mute myself when you do this.
Okay, I'll start then. Thawas on Morien, Mine je fraje, tha gifhaule, Guthrinch money, Ferdon folktogon, Feuran and Naon, Jon Weed Wegas, sorry, Wundor Shawion, Lades Lastas, nor his leaf Jedal. Sarlich Thuktes, Edja Anium, Thara Thetir Lausas, Trode Shaude, who he very mod on way thanon, Nia overkommen, on Nikera mere, Faye on je flymed, Velglastas bær. Thar was on blode, rim wallinde. Otto either je swing, al je menged, part on helvre. Heurodreure wel, dauth fa je delg, sydd on draw me las, in fin frewdl, ffwrth o leide. Hadd yn y saule, thar hi'n hel on feng. Thanon efdiwiton, audia siddas, swilche young money of gomenwade. From mere modie, maurum lidon. Belnas on blancum, thar was Beowulfus maurtho maned. Money of die quath, that de sooth ne north, besam twelnum. Over Elmen grund, oder nani, under sweles begong. Sel ranare, rond habbendra, breaches wurdra. Ne hiu huru wine drichten, wicht ne lovan, glad ne hrosgar, ac that was god kinning. Quilum haudorove, llaupon leton, on je fleet faran, falwe mauros, thar him foldwegas, paere thuchton, cystum, maybe custum, cude, quilum kinninges thein, gumma pladen, jidda je mundi, se the alfela, alges seina, worn je munde, word over fund, so je bunden. Sedge eft on garn, seeth Beowulfus, snutrum styrian, and on spade rekan, speljerade, wordom richslan, well hulch je quath, that he from Siemunde, sedjan hyrde, ellendadum, uncudes fella, walsinges je win, vide sidas, thareth egumena baurn, jaurwenne wisdom. Fachthe an firene, ut on fitela mit hine. Thon he swilches what sedjan wolde, aum his nevan. Swa hiu a waron, at neither je hwan, nud je stalwan. Havton alfella eltena kynnes, swelrum je sayed, siemundi je sprong, after dauth daie, dom un lytel, syddan wies haurd, wyrm a qualde, ordest hyrde. He under hame, hang on, sorry, I've gone out of whack, there we are. He under hame stan, no, that's not hame, that's harne, greystone, harne stan, adelingas barn, ana je nedde, frek nedade, ne was him fitila mid. Quadre him je saude, that sword surchwod, urat lichne wyrm, that hit on walle at stod. Rucht lich iren, draka mordre swalt, havde aglaka, elne je gongen, that he bauchordes brukan moste, selves dome, sabat je flod, bar on barmshipes, belte fratwa, walses abeda, wyrn hart je melt. Se was I suppose that'd be rekena, vida marost, over wertheude, wiendra leo, ellendadum, hethas ar on thach, siddan heremodes, hild swetrode. Swetrode, maybe. Alwood and Elwyn, he made eltenom waarth, on feonde je wald, forth for laken, snoede forsended, in a sorth wilmas, lemede to lange, he his leudum waarth, aulum adelingum, to aldor chaure, swilche oft bemaurn, arran malum, sweet ferchdes sydd, snotor chewl moni, seth e himbalwa tobote i lyfde. That theudnes bawn i thewn schulde, fader adelum on ffôn. Folk je haldon hord an Leoburg, halida riche. Edel Schildinga, hethar aulum warth, mai hielages, manna kynne. Vreundum je feira, kine fyren on road, quilum flytende, faue strate, maurum matum. Thawas morien leucht, shoven an schinded. Eude schauk moni, sweet higende, to selethan haun. Sauru wondor seun, swilche self-kinning, of breed boere, bauchorde ward, triddo de tier fast, je trume michle, kistum, maybe kistum, je and his quen mit him, medusti yemat, maida hose. Okay.
All right, have fun. I'm I'm gonna experimentally leave up this screen share so that we can, um, I don't know, follow along a little bit on screen with what you're translating. What do you think about trying that?
Yeah, that sounds good. I was vaguely kind of doing that with yours, but I think there were a couple of times where I kind of lost it. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so um, then was in the morning. So it's another one of like where the sort of poet references I've been told. So then I've been told um Guthring Moni, many war men were around the gift hall. Um, Folk leaders, uh, Felrun and Noun, far and near, traveled across weed wegas, like wide roads, which I've seen taken as like oceans, like a canyon for oceans, to observe the wonder of the enemy's footsteps. Last us.
Let me,
Um,
could I just point out
yeah.
one morphological thing? So on words of direction, like far and near, that on suffix means from.
Oh, fantastic. Okay,
So
that
they're
makes
coming,
sense.
yeah, from far and near.
I'm foreign there.
And
Okay.
and for those new to reading Old English, one fun sort of false friend is this, which though it's the origin of showy on means see. So it's like the opposite, or
Mm.
it's the other side of showing.
Yeah, yeah. I there's also I think there's another case of this. This is more like a semantic thing, but it seems like wundor, whereas today like wonder might kind of imply something. It might have like a good valence. It seems like here it just kind of means impressive in a kind of valence
Yeah,
independent way. So like um, I think later it kind of describes a serpent with this word, or it might be a different word. I'm not sure, but like it seems to just mean impressive, kind of striking, rather than
yeah.
specific, wonderful.
I think I think that's a good point to make. Um, yeah, it's something that stands out for one reason or another, good, bad, or just weird, right? It's not, yeah, because like if you say, I don't know, this person is a wonder today, that sounds positive, but they might mean it as like this person is a freak, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
come share we on this one. Yeah.
I'm showing it. Um, yeah. So to observe the hated one's footsteps. Um, so another good insult not like his life separation didn't seem unfortunate uh, to of any what or well of to any of the men who of those that observed the inglorious one's steps. So the fact that he died didn't seem unfortunate to anyone who looked at his footsteps. No one
Yeah,
was looking at him and thinking that they wish he was still alive. Um, well, here, weary moored, like how he weary minded. Um, this moored thing is ancestral to the modern English word mood, but it seems to have more broadly just kind of meant mind or kind of heart or spirit. Um, having on way Thunon, like on road thence, on road from there. So maybe that implies like traveling away from there. Um, overcome. So how he weary minded, having traveled away from there, or traveling away from there, overcome by violence on the lake of the water monsters. Um, felt last us bad. So like bare of steps to preserve his life. So maybe like without anything more he could do to stay alive. That sounds reasonable. Um,
yeah. This lost comes up all the time through here, right? Some
like the idea of an action.
where it's just, I mean, it's as traces or whatever. Um,
Oh yeah,
I'm
maybe action.
wondering about that being, because that should be accusative, right? So it looks more like the object of a verb, which bear could be that that verb rather than
Oh, I see what you mean. So
bear
like bed of life traces.
or carry. I'm looking to see what they say back here in the Klaber commentary about it, or the Klaber glosses about it. Um, there it is. What's this 10, 8, 46. Yeah, so they take this as he bore the
Oh,
life traces,
oh, I see.
um,
Okay. So imply
which is
like he,
interesting because, well, it's kind of interesting because it's clearly used lost to mean footprint earlier, but I don't know
yeah.
how you carry a footprint. It's something else. It's maybe just the wounds, he carried.
Well, maybe that's why I've read it and found something in Bosworth Toller and interpreted it as like steps. Maybe I read steps in the wrong way. That makes sense. But yeah, so
Yeah,
if if that bad is past tense, then yeah, okay. So like he bore the if he like bore the traces of life, then is that just a way of saying that he was just about clinging to life, maybe? Or
yeah. I
it's
wonder
hard.
about that because it's not that clear when he dies. Like,
No, it's true.
does he die? I mean, is he still alive when Beowulf cuts his head off? I don't know. Um, Spoiler alert.
So there was in blood the sea bubbling, um, terrible waves swirling, uh, all mixed with heated blood. Or helvere could be like just kind of guts, or I think that's just kind of viscera in general. Um, weld with sword blood. This is one I might just be being stupid here and not knowing. I might have just completely misread this, but this Dalfayadale thing, Dalfay, I've interpreted both of these as kind of being used in a kind of adjective way. So Dalfaya meaning like death doomed, and then Dale maybe meaning something like colored or stained. Because I feel like both of those on their own are relevant to the scene, but I can't work out what nouns they would be modifying unless
Well,
that
the Kleber gloss takes Deog as the preterite third singular to Dagon to conceal.
okay,
So,
okay. So
so like hid himself probably.
okay. And then so death like death doomed hid himself, concealed himself somewhere. Yeah, that makes sense if that's not an adjective. Um, okay, so uh until Sidvan could be until or since, but I feel like until makes sense here. Until uh in his fen refuge, his fen frolo, um, without enjoyment, without happiness, felt our lady. Maybe, yeah, like lay down his life. Hadane his heathen soul, or not his, but like he, implied his heathen soul. Um, and then hell seized him.
Well, so I guess here I just said it's not that clear where he dies. I guess this is where
I
he
guess
died.
that's probably where he dies, yeah.
But he's
Um,
dreamless, i.e., joyless. It's another fun false
yeah.
spread between old and modern English.
Mm, okay. Salon FG Weekend. So from that point, um, back traveled. So from that point, old travelers and also many young um, traveled back from joyous path, Gomenwade, um, from the sort of happy or like high spirited lake, mere, or sea, maybe makes more sense. Um, riding on horses, warriors on white, presumably horses.
Well, I
There
think
was
the high,
what's
I
that?
think the
Sorry.
high spirited ones. I don't think Modga can go with Mara. I think it goes with the
Oh,
the
they
warriors.
they're riding back from the sea and they are happy, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's pretty common in
Okay,
old Germanic poetry for just colors to be used as nouns to mean horse. So yeah, it's definitely just
okay,
on their
cool.
horses.
That context is useful. Thank you for that. So there was Beowulf's greatness conveyed. Many often said that neither south nor north, um, between seas. I like how, like in Old English, Sam tweln like by seas tween, like you can
Hmm.
the bit and the tween are kind of still separable. Um, between seas, so on land, over the immense earth, um, under the sky's course. Um, so many often said there was never any shield haver under neither south nor north between seas over the immense earth under the sky's course, more worthy of a kingdom or worthier of a kingdom. Um, Nehiu huru winedrichten. This huru I've just translated as like in any case. Um, like, and in any case they didn't uh blame the winedrichten, like the friend lord Glad Hrothgar. Um, I'm translating wicht as like at all, which I think is like it's often like a noun meaning like kind of entity, but I think like not at all blamed.
I
Um,
think you're right because they've just, you know, uh, they're trying to avoid that awkward moment where they say, like, "Oh man, it'd be so cool to have a king like." Well, I mean, our king's right over there, so like we don't want to. Like,
yeah,
oh, but but he's cool, right?
I didn't read it like that, but
Oh,
so
that's how I kind of took it. Like, they
that
don't they, they don't want to praise Beowulf so much that it seems like, oh, not to say that we prefer you to Hrothgar.
yeah. I that makes the Hulu bit make a lot more sense to me because I was thinking that's a kind of awkward way of wording that. But yeah, if it's kind of like an aside, like, oh, by the we're not saying that we we have anything against Hrothgar. Um, so that not that they blamed the friend Lord Hrothgar, um, that was called Kuning, but he was a good king. Um, or like I suppose you could say because he was a good king, but like uh, they didn't blame him, but rather he was a good king, maybe. Kind of like,
Yeah, it's like when my Patreon supporters come on these things, and they just exclaim in the comments, "Well, Simon is the greatest YouTuber ever." It's
no,
well, not the,
I've never seen such a comment, but I'm gonna
but
my ego is
but
going to.
Jackson, he's okay. Yeah, I think it's that kind of thing where it's like, oh, like I might actually be sort of
But they don't
offended.
want to be too enthusiastic about.
Right, right, right. We're not looking to replace him. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, that's how I read it. Right. It's like they're just kind of realizing like, oh, this could be a little bit awkward.
yeah, yeah. Um, so like sometimes brave people, brave ones, brave soldiers, um, let fallow horses, fallow maurus, leap in your fleet fallen, like competition travel, like a race maybe, um, where to them land paths seemed beautiful, were known to be the best choices. So like with the paths that were known to be the best for like racing horses, maybe.
Yeah,
Um,
and we should point out that fallow is a color term in Old English. Not it doesn't.
yeah,
They're not commenting on whether the horses are fertile or not. Um,
I mean it can mean like uh, in modern English, I feel like fallow can be a certain kind of like land, like an enclosed space as well. I'm not sure if that's related actually. I wonder if it is.
isn't it a field that you let lie fallow? Or isn't that a field that you don't,
It's yeah,
seed for a year?
yeah, exactly like a field that you let rest kind of for a year.
But in Old English, it's
The
a
color.
color term, and it's like it's probably in the yellowish range. So probably like bayish horses.
I have a well, I'll get to it when I get to it, but I have another color term question, like a color term thing to put to you later on, because I know you like glanced at Old English color terms while you're doing your PhD. Maybe
Well,
glanced as an understatement.
yeah, because the biggest work on Old Germanic color terms um, has been done in Old English. Um, in fact, there are entire books. I can't remember this lady's name off the top of my head. There's a woman who has done just incredible work in Old English color and has like entire books called things like gray in Old English, blue in Old English. Um,
That is very cool.
yeah, so I read all that stuff and definitely uh, her, what's her name?
What
Well,
you
actually,
went a bit muffled there.
Carol Bigham. There we go.
Mm,
Anyway, her stuff really influenced the way that I approached the Old Norse color terms.
okay. I'll have to pick your brains on something later then. And I will definitely be looking through university library for those books. I'm sure. I mean, I'll just have a look and see if I can find them. Um, so sometimes the king's fane, uh, a man laden with boasts, maybe man boast laden. Um, Yidayimindi, mindful of songs, so like no knowledgeable with, he remembers a lot of songs, maybe. Um, the one that very many old sayings remembered. Here we have maybe another lazy case of like Alfella and Warden, basically meaning the same thing. Like he that very remembered very many old sayings. Um, Word oder fund soliebunden. So like words, so like order can be anything from like the to like second to new. So like new words, found new words, uh, bound in truth. So maybe like composed his own kind of songs, composed his own sayings, maybe.
I think it's definitely the gist.
Yeah. Um, the
I
man,
think in
sorry.
I think in Hallwall, right after he has sacrificed himself, he talks about one word after another finding itself coming out of his lips. I think
Mm,
so. There's kind of a there's maybe not getting the wording of that exactly, but there's kind of I guess a phrase, you know, words finding
right.
words. Maybe I'm remembering this wrong. Hold on, I have to check this pretty fast. Um, well, he talks
Like
about finding like words and um,
like it's more of
a
a kind of
word,
words. What?
a
Sorry.
word. Oh, sorry, we have like just enough of a lag that we keep starting at the same time. A word sought another word, so it's
Mm,
not exactly the same, but kind of a similar image. Um,
like almost like kind of the maybe this is too far of a reach, but almost like the idea of like how like a sculptor might talk about finding the shape inside of the marble rather than making the thing, if you see what I mean.
oh, I could
Like
definitely see a poet talking about it that way. Yeah.
um Sedge if on Garn, the man next began to stir uh, Beowulf's journey, seeth Beowulfs wisely, or snitrum, is that like with wisdoms, maybe? Is that a dated plural? Would that
Or
be?
four wise ones. I mean, it is dative plural, so I could see it being like four or
Okay, so
two
like
or adverbial.
four wise people. Um, and um, maybe like about his success, delivered a skillful story, like on speed, like with regard to his success. Um, an exchanging of words. Um, Well Huichi Quath that here from Siamunde said John Hirde. So like he said everything, all of the stuff that he had heard Sigmund say um, about
or or
hmm,
heard tell about Sigmund. Um, I think Quaver's emendation in line 875 of Siamunda to Siamundes, the
okay,
genitive with with the S being left out, probably because it's followed by another word that starts with an S.
I see, I
Makes more
see.
sense because then it's about Siamundus, about Sigamund's um, brave deeds. I think
That
that's
makes
probably better.
okay. That makes the narrative a bit clearer. Do you think that is a case of like because there was an S afterwards, or do you think it was like like the person writing it down maybe misunderstood what was going on? Well, I suppose you can't tell, but
Yeah, I don't think there's anything too opaque here. And probably this story is better known than Beowulf's story. I mean, this is known from German
oh,
and
that's
from Old
true.
Norse, although the details of it are strikingly variant from what you see in the Volsung myth and Old Norse and the Nibelungen stuff in German. And this is the earliest occurrence in writing of any version of any part of the Volsung myth.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That is, I suppose that makes sense, yeah, because would it have been written in like the 1200s in Old Norse or something?
yeah, and the Nibelungen lead is about the same. So this is yeah, the earliest written occurrence of any part.
That is very cool. Have you done a video on like the differences between the different like
Maybe I should. I have sort of an interview about some of the differences between the Nibelungen lead and Volsungs with Taylor Booty, one of my TAs at CU. I could definitely do a bigger look, do some more Nibelungen lead stuff. Hackett, my publisher, recently published a new Nibelungen lead translation, so I guess there would be
mm,
I could even scratch their back a little bit and talk about that.
mm,
Um, I uh, uncharitably find the Nibelungen lead boring as hell. Um,
right. That's fair.
it's it's just it's like every other page is just a description of how somebody's dressed. It's like
Mm.
uh, you know, uh, just drives me
Um,
crazy. And there's something about the rhymey poetry to it. It's just like just drives me up the wall.
you've talked about not being a material culture person before, so the dress stuff maybe.
Yeah, and it's like, oh come on, great. Oh wow, he was wearing gold. Wow, you know, like like the other guy, right? Oh, and he was dressed better than anybody ever. Wow.
But didn't you
No, it's
say
just
that about this other guy 5 minutes ago? No.
yeah. I mean, it's like listening to a 7-year-old tell you about, you know, the superhero movie he just watched. And he was the strongest ever. And there's a lot of that too. I mean, like the sagas can be like that, but the sagas at least keep things a little bit more in proportion. The Nibelungen just, I don't know, like I said, it just bores me.
Yeah.
Um, so come at me, Middle High German people. Um, you know,
I wonder how many middle high German people there are on the internet.
we'll find out.
Yep, we will. Um, right, where am I? Um, so he said all of the stuff that he'd heard told about Siemund, um, about uh, glory deeds and many unknown things. We'll call this filler. The contest of Wow's child, Wal Walsingis. So presumably this Walsing is like is Volsung, is the
Yeah,
equivalent of the word Volsung. Um,
which is
we
interesting
just
because it looks like it's more like a patronym, right? It looks like it's really the name of the family, which it is
yeah.
in Old Norse, right? The Volsungar.
Mm.
Um, there's a possibility. I'm going to shock y'all. Um, those who haven't heard me talk about this, which you probably have. Um, Old English Wals, Old Norse Volsi, could conceivably literally just straight up mean horse dingus.
Oh,
Um,
really?
so conceivably, what's happened is deliberately or not, the kind of that family derivative Volsungar in Old Norse, Walsingas in Old English has taken the place of this guy's name, which was originally conceivably just Wals or Wolsey.
Mm.
Just
I didn't know.
because, well, there's that story in Old Norse about King Oliver Tryggvason coming to the farm where some remote Norwegians are still pagan, and they have a horse dingus that they worship, sort of, and its name is Wolsey.
Mm.
And the root of the name does look like you know a pillar column. It's not
Mm. I see.
inconceivable. So,
I like that as
yeah,
a fact.
fun little details. I've always wondered about it, but I suspect that replacement of the name, if it is what happened pretty early, and Beowulf's a pretty good sign of that. Um, yeah, and we're not even to the weirdest part of this.
So the contest of Wal's child or son or something like that. We just see thus far journeys, uh, those things which men's children completely didn't know, absolutely didn't know at all. Feuds and violent actions. Now, Bhutan, by default, I would read this as accept, but I couldn't work it out, so I looked at the Slade translation, which is the one that's easiest available to hand online, and it said only. And I'm not sure if that's a normal way of translating Bhutan, but maybe it's more normal than I think. But uh, so if that's what I'm going with, then it only Fitila with him.
Or, I mean,
Um,
I think just taking it as accept is fine because we've just heard that, you know, other men's children don't know about all this stuff
oh,
except
except
Fidela.
because he was with him, kind of thing. I see what you mean. Okay, that makes sense. Um, they had sent down many of uh, I'm I'm going to continue using the word etin for Elten because I don't want to use giant. Um, although I don't want to be like one of those people that uses an archaic word that doesn't mean anything anymore. Um, maybe like monster. He'd sent down many of monster kind with swords. Um, or they had sent down rather, I assume was the subject. Siamunde, yes, so Sigmund sprang up after uh, Death Day.
Are you skipping some lines here?
Hang on, where am
Or
I?
are you
Sorry.
going to? So you left out at 879, boots on Fitla, Midhena, and now I see you down at like 883. Are you skipping a few lines here? Bona ahead, switch is flat.
Hang on. No, you're right. You're right. Hang on. So then he wanted to say of such things. I'm translating "quat" the way that in German sometimes "was" is used as uh, like you might say like I think I could be wrong, but I think it's normal in German to say like "oder so was," like all things like that, or that kind of thing. Where "quat" would kind of mean just like stuff. Um, so like then he
or,
wanted to say what's that? Sorry.
or everything. Um, Certainly, sometimes in Old Norse, bizarrely enough, what means everything. Um, so I'm just throwing that out there. I, I don't know if I read enough Old English to have a feel for whether that's common. But
I think it I would definitely believe that. I think somebody's corrected me on my German in the comments. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, I think that's a possibility. I think because in this context, Thonahir switches what I'm looking at it as like then he I'm thinking of Swilches as like of of that kind of thing, of those kinds of things, kind of thing. Like he wanted
Yeah.
to say about that kind of thing, of those kinds of things. Um, or like, I do you mean like everything about everything of that kind?
And I don't know if it's the poet who's going to say about these things. I don't know if Sigmund is saying about them. But
See if I can. So then he wanted to say of such things, or of all of such things. Um, uncle of his nephew. Uh,
or uncle to his nephew. Okay, so it
uncle
is him
to his.
talking. Okay, here's this is what's funny, certainly from the Old Norse reading perspective. All right, so Am is maternal uncle, right? So that makes Sigmund the brother of Fittula's mom, right?
Mm,
Well, in Volsunga Saga, that's true, but he's also his dad, right?
mm, I
Fittula
see.
Sinfjotli is the son of him and his sister.
Absolutely
So
classic.
is this awesome lighties, right? Where the audience is expected to kind of be like, right, his
Yeah, no,
maternal uncle, or is that not part of the Old English story? It's actually not clear if he is just his nephew in Old English, or if this is just being like, you know, kind of winky with the audience, right?
mm.
Um, I think that's pretty great.
Well, that's another bit of context I didn't know, because I was just assuming this was some way of clarifying who the subject was, like,
No, I
or
think I
who
think
the.
it's hilarious that it goes out of its way to throw in the words uncle and nephew,
Mm,
from an Old Norse reading perspective. Like if we suspect that the same relationship as in Volsunga Saga is behind this, it's kind of like, right, his his uncle, you know.
that means.
Um,
Yeah, I wouldn't have known that. That's Thank you.
I don't know. So I don't know whether to laugh at it or to say, oh, maybe the story's different. But
I mean, I feel like since it explicitly mentions that specific relationship, then
yeah, it could be. Anyway, it's
uh,
a fun little bit of context, especially that like it just seems sort of snuck in there. I mean, if I were making a Volswinger Saga movie, I think I would just constantly have Sinfiotli, refer to Sigmundur as his uncle. Hey, Uncle Sigmundur, just to kind of like really kind of, underline it. I don't
um, right. So he wanted to say of all of such things, his uncle to his nephew, um, as they always were at every conflict, closely bound comrades. And then the Etin thing. So they'd sent down very many of Etin kind with swords.
Did they
Um,
saw them down?
saw them down. Oh yeah,
Is that
okay.
is that a
I
saw? Right? I think that's a saw, which is kind of an interesting like image. By the way, it also reminds me, if it's true, I'm going to look back in Claver and see if that's what he said. Um, in the Saga of the Volsungs, they saw their way out of a trap.
okay.
Oh, let's just say in in the back of Claver, it's to make sink. So yeah, like lay
That's
low or
that's what I'd read in
no.
Bosworth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Although that would be a fun translation. Like you might have just noticed something that the original, like the translators or the authors of Bosworth Toller hadn't noticed, like some etymological connection.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the make sync from Seagon is pretty plausible, but
Oh, I
it was the
see. Yeah,
first thing that leapt to my mind. Um, but then I'm keyed up now to look for, little winky references in this
yeah,
because I've
yeah.
read Volsunga Saga 5 million times.
I mean, that pattern, that you're probably in a better position to exercise that pattern recognition than most other people as an
Maybe
old Norse scholar.
for better
Look,
or worse.
that's a good niche to have in this world.
Yeah, I suppose. And it's easier to command all the Volsung material than it is to command all the like Rolf Crocky stuff, which is just it's all over the place. At
I think
least the
yeah,
Volsung stuff, yeah. I mean, at least the Volsung stuff occurs in like discrete chunks.
mm, rather than just being peppered throughout.
Yeah.
So Sigmund sprang up after Death Day. His power unlittle, unlittle word again. Um, since in until maybe until Sudan, um, in well or until severe battles or severe attacks maybe had killed the serpent, the treasure's keeper or the treasure's shepherd. Um, he uh, dared to go alone under a grey stone. So we have that hard word again that kept being used to describe Frosgar earlier. The noble's child, Athelingus Bound, a dangerous deed. Fitila was not with him. Quadre, I'm going to translate that as like nevertheless. To him it was given, it was granted that the sword passed through um, the this was what I was thinking of, but it's not the word wonder, it's Ratlichne, like the impressive serpent. The sword
Mm.
passed through the sort of impressive dragon. Um, that it stood on a wall. Noble iron, I assume, refers to the sword. Draka mordre swalt. So here we have that murder word, which is, I think, more clearly um,
Mm.
related. So the dragon died in murder, or maybe murder. Maybe the modern connotations of murder are too kind of specific. Maybe like slaughter is a better word. Um, the terrible one, the Arglaka, um, or had the terrible one, or maybe the violent one. Maybe that's not negative valence because that,
I think
uh,
it's used of Beowulf at one point. So
yeah,
it's
maybe it's more positive. But the strong one, the mighty one, maybe, um, or maybe like the fearsome one.
yeah, I think it's Og, like um, which would be the progenitor of English awe, AWE. Um, so
Mm,
like the one inspiring fear, probably one way or the other. Like
the
it does seem mostly to be used of Brindle so
yeah,
far, but apparently you can use it if you need a vowel alliterating word for your hero too.
like awesome and awful,
Right,
like
right. That's probably a good parallel.
just
Yeah.
one word.
Um,
So the um, so the sort of fearsome one had like befallen strength or like um befallen with strength, or he had well befallen seems like is a weird way of translating this, but I think the implication is like through strength, he'd made it so that like he would gain control of the ring horde.
Or
Uh,
I think you could take it going in here as like reached, right? Like it had, I think you could take it a little bit more transitively, like reached with courage, something like that.
okay, okay, that makes it make so the fearsome one had uh, reached um, with strength or courage, um, that he must gain control of the ring horde. Uh, Sylvis Dormer, like of his own volition, like on using his own kind of volition. Bart Lord, sea boat loaded. He loaded the sea boat, bore shining treasure on the in the ship's lap. Wal's successor. Um,
Oh, and
the
there's that name. Yeah, the simpler name for his dad.
Well then, yeah. And then one of my favorite bits so far, I think, weird hard melt. The dragon hot melted.
The
Uh,
hot worm melted. I mean, it reminds me of The Lair of the White Worm, a book that no one should ever read and a movie no one should ever watch.
I
Um,
don't think I've
so
read.
it's the B side to Dracula, basically. Um,
Oh,
so what's interesting here from a Volsunga Saga perspective is it's not Sigmundur who kills the dragon in Old Norse
right.
tradition. It's his son Sigurdur.
Okay.
So it's an interesting question whether Sigurdur existed in Old English tradition here. I don't think his name, well, the compound name probably occurs, but I don't think that a reference to him exists. So is it that a son of Sigmundur is kind of like creeping into the tradition as the Dragon Slayer in Germany and Scandinavia, but not
Mm,
in England? Or in
right.
England, have we like simplified the story and lost the son and made Sigmundur the dragon slaying hero?
Mm,
Um, pretty interesting.
yeah, that is interesting. Especially as you say, because this is relatively early. I suppose it's not that early. Like it's well after the main sort of migration period, so there's plenty of time for Old English to lose a lose a character. Um, so he was known for being the greatest of explorers or wanderers uh, over mankind, or maybe of out from mankind or within mankind or something. Um, the protection of fighting people um, with noble deeds. Hethas ar onthar, like he prospered by this, he had done well by this before. Um, since Hermod's uh, fighting fighting and his strength and greatness subsided, um, he was betrayed forth into enemy's power by Ettins, by Eltenum, mid Eltenum, quickly sent away or like dispatched. Um, sorrow swells crippled him for too long, and his people became, or he became to his people a to all nobles a great life sorrow.
I should point out that the text on the screen there um, in 905 has lemata. That is the manuscript form, but that is a singular verb. Um, so many editors change that to lemmadon because the subject is clearly Sor Wilmas, the plural.
Right.
Um, it's a pretty unexpected uh, slip of verbal agreement, which normally the poet is pretty strict about.
That is interesting. I need to get Clay because it seems like it has a lot of good good commentary.
Oh, it is a massive apparatus. Did it? Did I'm getting deja vu about this. Didn't we talk about this? What's your birthday? I need to send this to you for your birthday or something.
Oh, I think we did. It's in June. But
Oh, wow.
I'd have to think of something to send you in
It's
return.
not my birthday.
No,
So
but
like just send me a robin.
I'll send you.
So,
Well, you joke. My dad got me like a little ceramic robin for my birthday,
oh,
which
nice.
was very nice.
Oh,
Um,
those are such fun birds.
it's a very nice little bird. In my recent bird video, I had like a very scrawny looking robin near the end. Um, thank you for your
There's that guy. Yeah, well, I'll always support bird content.
hell yes.
I mean, that was my reaction when I saw it.
Yeah, yeah. I enjoyed the
I just accidentally clicked something else.
right. So uh, in the same way, they often sorrowed from earlier times. The strong-hearted one's departure. Um, Many wise men.
I think that's
Uh,
your subject.
oh,
Many
I
a
see.
wise man
Oh,
often mourned. It's not to share money, but man, I think that's your subject.
okay, that makes sense. So so in the same way, many wise men often sorrowed from earlier times, the strong-hearted one's departure. Um, Ones who had trusted him to improve injuries or like improve bad things. Um, that the prince's son uh, must prosper to take his father's nobilities. It's like, yeah, like his noble, so like inherit his nobilities, or I suppose,
Or just
um,
lands,
all that,
right?
yeah,
Because I think that
um, to rule the people, the treasure hoard and the protective city, the Fjellborg, um, the hero's kingdom, the Shielding's homeland. There, by all, so like maybe in everyone's opinion, became, or by mankind, um, became, or by glad friends or gladder friends. No, hang on, sorry, hang on, what have I done here? So there by all, he became Heorlach's friend, by mankind, by gladder friends, maybe friends who had been made gladder by him, maybe. Um,
I think it's Higelac's son, Higelac's May, became there to all mankind. Um, maybe more than a friend, Yfera than
hmm,
friends. Maybe the friendom is a comparative dative.
maybe.
Um,
Okay, so he's maybe something. Um, Hinefillen on ward, like evil undid him, I think. Um, Here's my color term thing. So sometimes striving in, oh yeah, it's the same color term. It's foul. Um, so I've translated it as like pale yellow in the full knowledge that it's probably more got a more complicated semantic range than that. Um,
Yeah, I think it is. That's about right. It's somewhere in the yellowish range, which Old English comes close to getting a color for much earlier than Old Norse does, but it
yeah,
doesn't quite settle on one for a little while.
yeah, yeah. Because Old Norse, you you say that it probably was it that it like started off not really having a basic color term for yellow, and then it gained like Blaker, as which became more basic, or was it something like that?
Yeah, yeah. I think Blaker starts off as being like um, non-red warm, and
Right.
then which is really its basic meaning in Old Norse. I don't know that it's really a basic color term exactly in Old Norse, but that's I think what its meaning is.
Okay.
In old in a modern Icelandic, it comes to mean just pink, but it mostly means yellowish in Old Norse.
Um, so pale, yeah, okay. So sometimes striving in pale yellow streets, um, traversed on horses. Uh, then morning light was pushed and hurried. Um,
Yeah,
went,
it's a weird image, isn't it?
but yeah, it's like a nice poetic thing that you wouldn't think to. Oh, thank you, Stella, for putting that in the chat. It's a very good read. Um,
Is it? That's
yes.
frightening.
Many servants went strong-minded to the high hall to see the uh, like intricate, like artistic wonder, and in sort of swilche, like in the same way, the king himself, um, out of the bridal chamber, the guard of the ring hoard or ring hoards, stepped glorious, um, with his great battle band, um, famed for goodness, and his queen
Where's
with him.
where's
What's
he
that? Sorry,
known for? Like the is he known for the choicest? Is it something like that?
known for what? Sorry.
Like the choicest, right? Just right, like known for the best stuff.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that could be. Yeah, like just nuclear, known for the choicest. Um, and his queen with him. Uh, Mead Hall measured. I've I've seen this translated as like he walked, like maybe it's like he walked the length of the Mead Hall. Um, and I couldn't work out. So in like Maida Hose, I couldn't work out what this horse word was. Benjamin Slade has accompanied by maidens. I couldn't work out what it was, but I would say that that fits the context. Um,
yeah, I think it is probably about her, right? She's coming with her group hosts, dative hosts, so with the like group of maidens. Yeah, so she's got like ladies in waiting or something.
so in the same
Um,
way, he's got his like battle band around him.
yeah, I think she's got her little following, like ladies in waiting. God, that's so pretentious in 19th century. Hrothgar's gratulation.
Oh yeah, the fit titles.
God. Uh,
It never occurred to me that gratulate was a word in its own right. In its own right.
I
But
don't think it has been for about 100 years, but no. Um, all right. I'm gonna go ahead here. All right. Hrothgar Madalora het zo hele jong. Stod om stapelen. Je zegt steef naar Hroth. Golde vachna. Om Grenles hand. Thisse aansyne alweel dan fank. Lungre je limpe. Filla ich lades je baard. Grinna at Grendle. Ah, my gold wirchan wunder after wundre. Wuldres hyrde. Dat was un jera dat ich anira me. Wena ne wenda to widan vera. Bota je widan. Ona blode fach husa selest hero reori stod. Wea weedshoven. Wittena je wiltven. Tharathene wendon that he a wiederfer. Leeuwde land je werk. Ladum beweredon. Schukum und Schinem. Nu sheok hava durchdrichnis nicht, der je fremde, de we ele ne mechton snutrum besirwan. What that sejan mij evne swahwich mechte swathona magan kinde, after gumkunum, jev heo jut livad, that hira eeld metod este ware, bern je beardo. Nu ich Beowulf fetch sedge betsta, me forsunu wille freogan on ferchte. Hailed fortella niwe siba, ne bithe nanere god, warlde wilna the ich je wailed have, full oft ich for lassan lean tilchda, hord weerthunge nachran rinche, samran et seche. Þú þeself havast dadum je fremmed that þín dóm lifa awa to aldre. Alwalde fetch gode forljude, swa he nu jut dude. Beowulf madalore, Bearn edgetheois. Way that ellenwerk estum miklum, feuchtan fremmedon, frikne genefton, eavod uncouthus. Ute ich sweethor that thu hinna selfna, jeseon moste, feond on fratawum, pul werine. Ich hinna hredliche herdan clamum on wildbedde, rithan vochte. That he for moondgripa minum schulde ligean leave busy. Butan his leech switche. Ich hinna nemichte, the metal nolde. Ganges je twaman, no ich him thesierne at feoch, fair in Nifland. Westo fore michti feond on fede. Whether he his fulme for let to leave rade last weirdian, erm on the exla. No there enia swa there, feashiert kuma frovre je bochte. No thu lang leovad ladia teona, sunum je swinchid. Ac hinne sar hafad in níðgripa nerwe befongen, balwon bendum. There abidan shale maga mana fach miklan domes, who him sheer method shrivan wille. Thawe swire sedge, sunu edglavis, on djupspache gudjewerke. Sithan etalingas erles krefte, over hena rope hand sherwadon. Feondes fingras foran wilch was. Steda nijle je wilch stille je likost. Haddenes handsporu, hilderinches, eglu un heru. Wilch je kwath that him herdra nan, rinan wolde, iren ergod, that des achlachan, lodge beöldru fallne, on baron wolde. So here's a danger that you have in Old English, but not Old Norse, that yeon, how it can mean young or also walked.
Mm.
Pretty sure it's walked here. So Hrothgar said he walked to the hall, stood on a post, a pillar, potentially a stone. Apparently, there's quite a bit of disagreement on what the stopple could be. Default meaning is usually assumed as um, pillar, tree trunk, something like that. Uh, he saw a steep roof decorated with gold, gold in Grendel's hand. This sight, this is him speaking, Ansuna, um, thanks to the Almighty, Thunk Awaldon, may it befall quickly, Ylimpe Ingra. I don't really know what he's wishing to befall quickly, but that's how I take that as a subjunctive Ylimpe, like may it happen quickly. Um, I endured ich yabad a great deal of hate, I love a lot of this. A great deal of griefs too, Grinna, from Grendel, Grenla. God may always work wonder after wonder, uh, the guardian of power here to Wildress. It was not long ago, that was Unyera, that I did not expect, Wenda, uh, to I did not expect to await Yabidon relief, Bote, of any woes, Anira, Wayana, ever to Wedon Farah, which would be literally like to wide life, but probably like ever in my life. I did not expect relief from any of these woes. um, when the happiest of houses, Salist Husa, stood blood gory, stood harrow dreary, blood bloody, decorated with blood. We've got like three different words for blood or gore, blood, drear, hair. Um,
I like how like dreary now means just like boring, and back then it
yeah,
meant there's another like false friend.
yeah, that's an unusual weakening of sense, isn't it? Um, wide-reaching woe, weed shoven wea, to all men, of those who did not expect Starin and Windon that they ever, another really complicated word for like ever, anytime, weed affair. Um, the stronghold of the people, Landiware Leoda, they protected the Weradon from the hated Badum. And then these seem to be two kind of obscure-ish words for like demons, Shook and Shin. So I think the summary is that neither he nor any wise men who protected the hall expected any sort of relief ever. And the hall was just going to always be bloody, bloody, and bloody. Right? I mean, I think that's about right. Now a man, Tainer, somebody, a Shalk, has uh, has through the Lord's might He performed a deed, Ephraimidad, which we all earlier could not accomplish, Nemerton, Basirwan, with wisdom's snitcher.
So is that like we couldn't accomplish it just by theorizing about it, or even with our wisdom we couldn't accomplish it, kind of
Oh,
thing?
that might be about right. Like either. um,
See?
yeah, I don't get sick very often. I don't know if I've got.
No, I've never seen it before, I don't think.
I don't know if I have COVID or allergies or what. Damn problem is. It's the cold that I picked up somewhere. Um, I mean, it's 100 degrees outside. I suppose colds can spread at any time. Um, what that may be said, that nice Sejan, Magan often seems to take a verb meant in a passive sense. Even so, Evnus Flow, uh, every man or every woman, yeah, any woman, whatever woman, what may be said of whatever woman who brought forth this son. I'm taking Swa as kind of a relative here. Swa came to Magan among humankind after Gumkin. If she yet lives, if Hale yet liveth, that that to her childbearing, to a bairn ye beardo, old God, old fate, personified as God, would be with grace. So, like he's wishing grace on whatever woman gave birth to Beowulf. I thought he knew Beowulf's parents, but it's worth pointing out that that Aista word is Old Norse Ost, which is love in Old Norse,
Mm.
but more like grace
What?
in Old English, and I think in Goth.
How is that spelled on Old Norse? Is it like A with an accent?
Yeah, long AST, Ost is the typical word for love, and that includes romantic love. I don't think it ever has a romantic sense in Old English or in Gothic, where it's more like grace, right? Um, that kind of love. Now I, Beowulf, you, best of men, I want, um, I want to love in heart Freagon on Bertha, for a son to me. So Beowulf, I'm offering to take you as my son in heart. I hold forth well, hailed forth Tella, a new relationship, a new Siba, where Siba survives in English as part of a sibling, one you're in relation with. Uh, there is not in you any lack, any God of willed things, Wilma, in the world, which I have in my power to itch, have a get well. Anything I've got is yours, whatever you want. Very often, or oft, I, for Lassen, conferred a reward, Teohoda Leon, um, to a lowlier man, Nachran Richa, one worse at fighting, Samron at Sacha, um, and then he's honored with gifts, Horde Werthinga. You have, through Havast, done deeds, Ephraim Dadum, yourself, this self, so that your reputation in Dome lives forever through the age till Aldra. The all-powerful Allwalda, um, may he repay you for yield the fetch with good, Goda, as he now yet did. So probably we take that as perspective, as he so far has done, right? As he now yet did. Beowulf said, son of Edgedale, we performed the fight, Fremedon Beocton, and maybe this is kind of a royal we, and maybe he's being cool and, including his buddies who at least slacked at Grendel with their ineffective sword.
Yeah, I mean um it fits in with the whole thing of him being quite humble.
Yeah, and I do think it's supposed to be read as a pretty genuine humility.
Yeah.
We performed the fight, that brave work with great graces. So again, um, it's by the grace of God that we've done this. We ventured the Nathan daringly, breakneck. Um, or we daringly tried the Nathan the strength of the unknown, Beowulf Incubus, because we didn't know how strong Grendel would be. I wished very strongly Uther, kind of a difficult morphological form in Old English. That's Unod to wish. I wish very strongly that you might see, um, through most of Yasaon, him himself, the the enemy found, uh, weary from the fall, feel weary enough on the ornaments. So I wish basically that you were seeing the whole enemy here laid out for you, not just this arm.
Yeah.
I seemed to writhe with him, both to rebound, and or I seemed. It seems I thought him to writhe, maybe.
Mm.
Um, who was frightenedly in fear, hard, uh, in clasps, Clamon, my clasps, on the slaughter bed, wild bed. I might take this that as when he should, um, because of my hand grip or Meenum hand grip, lie, um, struggling for life busy, busy. Um, but his life, made apart, or his body made apart, leads switcher, speak on. I might not, separate him, Twamon, in a, uh, from going. Oh, like keep him from going, keep him from leaving. So
Mm.
Ichnemich Yatwamon Hina Gangas, when God did not will it, Lameta Molda. I never held him firmly at fail. I don't know what the Yerna is doing. The
Um,
life, the life enemy, they are in these ones.
I wonder if Yell on it could just be like an intensifier.
Yeah, I never held him firmly enough. That life enemy that he couldn't get away. He's being weirdly apologetic about letting Grendel like leave something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he's gone on a long time about, oh, you should have seen him dead hit. I took
Yeah.
that, oh, you should have seen that, like the size of him kind of thing, but it sounds like, oh, I wish I'd killed him completely so that you could see him.
Yeah, maybe with an undertone that like, well, crap, now I don't know that he's dead, right? I
Yeah,
mean, like, um, so maybe I haven't solved your problem entirely.
yeah.
Um, this the enemy found was too mighty for Nifty, and then like in his travel and his going, like he was too fast. I guess he was too good at escaping. Maybe whether he left his hand, whether he let his forma, um, as like a almost a life wager or something, life protection, um, to remain behind where the lost the arm under the shoulder. I don't really know what the weather is doing and all that. Nevertheless, what there, never there, uh, any what like poor destitute man obtained consolation. Never thus no the evildoer Lazietano lives long, with Lang. So he's saying he's too Fair he's too much of an evildoer. He won't live long. He won't have consolation. He's afflicted with his sins. This one should sin him. But the wound has him in an evil, has seized him, a thong and henna, in a near evil grip, narrow in the grip on, with evil fetters, baleful fetters, balwon, bended. And there, the man, the son, Maga, shall abide. The dude shall abide. There you go. That's Old English. The dude shall abide. It's right there. It's Beowulf. Maga shall abide on. Uh, marked with crime, mana, uh, great doom. How bright God wants to right him, so like judge him, presumably, like in the book of the quick and the dead. And then the man was silent. That was Sedge Sweegra, the son of Angelov, or more silent anyway, or probably just meaning silent, about in boast speech about his battle work. Actually, he hasn't been that boast. After the nobles saw the hand over the high roof, the man's strength, the evildoers, the enemy's fingers. It was before each of them, less for an Aquilch. Um, each of the places of the nails, Whilch, Steda, Nadla, most like Ilikost steel, Stila. That's how I take it anyway. Like his nails are like steel, claws like steel. The
Say that makes.
heathen,
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, I think I agree
yeah,
with that.
the heathens, uh, the tracks, the leavings of his hand, um, the of the warrior. I guess we're calling Brindle a warrior. Um, and then I think these adjectives are for the leavings of the hand, for the hand, right? The arm that's just behind here. It's
Oh,
hideous. It's monstrous. Um, each, each person present said that nothing harder would touch, or that, yeah, probably nothing harder would touch him. No ancient good iron would touch him. harder uh, that would harm that Wolda on Baron, this monster's best enemy is whatever. If that's Ahlakon, his bloody battle hand. So they're all like, oh, this is so hard that even really good, really ancient iron wouldn't hurt this thing. It's too tough.
Sounds good to me. Fantastic. 3 fits down. Well done for getting through that despite illness.
Oh man, it's driving me crazy. But
Are you all right to carry on going, or would you rather?
oh man, if we, uh,
I mean, it's
you know
my.
how you know how it goes. If you try to cancel something, like I don't know, this has been especially true in these last few months, that it winds up getting rescheduled at like the absolutely worst, or least
Yeah.
convenient time, right? So it's like, no, let's just do it. I'm sure it's annoying to listen to me, but
No, 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 it's not. I mean, like you don't. I don't think you sound ill, other than.
okay, well that's good.
I mean, you're obviously muting yourself to sneeze and stuff, but apart from that,
I'm trying. Um,
okay.
yeah, I think we'll finish this in good time for me to get out and run my other errand. So I will start screen sharing on this next clip.
Mine. Oh, I was going to say, does mine have to be stopped? But I think it's stopped.
Yeah, you stopped it.
Okay, so
All right. All right. Looks like it's sharing. Yeah, when you may fire when ready.
Thomas Horton Rhythe, Hewrt innan ward, Holmum je flatwood, Fella Thare was, Wera and Weaver, The Thatween wretched, Yestsele Yiledon, Goldfar Shinon, Web after Warum, Wonder Siuna Fella, Sedja je Quilchum Thara Theon Swilch Starath, was that belte bold Tobroken Swede, Au inneward, Iren bendum fast, Heuras Torlidene, Prof Anna Jenas, Aues Arnsund, Thase Arglaka, Filendadum Far, on Flamjewand, Aldres Orwena, Orwena, no that either byth to befleone, Fremesethe wille, ac je sacan shall Saul berendra, nudde je nudde, nidda barna, grundboendra, jaurwestowe, thar his lichhoma, leir bedde fast, sweveth after synde, thar was sal and mal, that to howle gang, halfden es sunu, wolde self-kunning, symbol thidjan. Ne je freien ich thar meide, maran welrode, hyra sink jivan, sel je baron, buran thar to benche, blad arende, fylle je faron, fire je tharon, medal money, maras thara, sweet higende, on seletham haon, Hroðgar and Hroðulf, Herald innan was, freundum af fylled, nolles fagenstavas, theldskildingas thenden fremedum. For jáfþá Beowulfe, Báran halfdenes, seien jildenne, sires tolaune, Hroden hildekumbor, helm on burnan, mare madlum swerd, manie jesawon, beforan Beuran beran, Beowulf jesach, fullen flekte, no he thare felgifte, voor sheltendum, shamiran thorte, ne je freinich freon lichor, sorry, feuer madmas, golde je jurede, gummanna fella. In Albenche, Odrum Jesellan, thas helmis hrof, Halvord Belge, Wirum bewunden, Wallan utan held, that him fella och fela lave, frekne ne mautun, sjur haur tjedan, sonne skyldfreka, on jaun grammum, gangan sjolde, hechta eurla leo, auta mauras, fatod leure, on flet deum, in under euderas, thara anum stod, saddle saurum far, sinche je wurdath, that was hilde settle, how kunninges sonne swelde je lag, suno haufdenes, evnan wolde. Navre on orel lai, weed coolest we, sonne walu fellon, on tha beowulve, bera je chwadres, eldor ingwina, on waldje tauch, widja and wapna, het hina wel brukan, swa manliche, mare theoden, hordward hallida, hawlu rasas jald, maurum and madmum, swa hu navre man lyth, sethe sedjan wille, soth after richte. Source after Richter. So,
All right.
I'm gonna wonder if it will make it quicker if I try to like type myself while I'm just so that I can organize the different bits and the subjects and stuff. So then was called quickly Held, like the people of Helrod maybe inwards. Adorned with hands or adorned by hands.
Yeah, I guess it is. I mean, I only knew about the one, but
I was gonna say, yeah, maybe like the story's been like exaggerated. Like every time it gets told, there's more hands.
I took 5 of his arms.
Many there were of men and of women who readied that wine hall, that guest hall. Shining gold adorned, woven things. I'm going to translate after as on walls. Wonder sights many of wonder sights many. Each of the men, Sedja Yehwilkum, Yehwil, would that be Yehwilchum? I don't know.
I think it's Whilch. It seems better to me just because it's the forerunner of which, right?
Yeah, so Whilch on its own would have ch, but I'm thinking, would this, if I don't know. I mean, if that,
excuse me, couldn't catch that.
I was gonna say, if it depends if like the inflections added kind of post sound change, if you see what I mean. Because if it's like the root of the word is Whilch and we add this ending, then it's Whilchum. But if the ending is kind of pre sound change, if you see what I mean, then it might be Whilkum. But I'm not sure. I'll say
that ending would have been a back vowel before the change. So I guess the question is whether that environment, I mean, by analogy to the base form, or whether the front vowel plus liquid, I don't know. I think you could kind of go either way.
Yeah, given that dative form obviously doesn't exist anymore, there's no like modern comparative evidence to go one way or another on it, but um, so each of the men uh, who stared at such things or who looked on such things um, okay, sorry. So wonder sights many to each of the men who stared at such things.
Yeah, I think it's a good way of conveying the data.
Um, that bright building was broken down, swither, like very like strongly broken down, like badly damaged. All inward, all inward, like all collapsed, like it's kind of imploded on itself. Edenbendum fast uh, tied or like secured with iron bands. Helras torhlidene, hinges like cracked. Rolf Arna Yanas, the roof alone was would like Yanas like survived. The roof alone remained. Alice Ansund, all intact. Uh, when the monster, tainted by evil deeds, turned in flight, uh, hopeless of life. So maybe didn't have any hope of maintaining his life, kind of thing. Um,
Kind of a rare occurrence of that or prefix in Old English, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. Is
Because
this
it is like kind of a privative prefix, but pretty rare in Old Norse, pretty rare in Old English, but it's an old Germanic prefix.
is it the same one as like in German Ur?
Yeah, I
I
think
would,
it's related to that. Not in the sense of like the earliest thing, if that's what you're talking about, but if you're talking about like in Middle High German, I think it's a more common privative prefix.
right.
Uh, German is way more into those prefixes than English or Scandinavian tends to be.
Um, I quite like this bit. Uh, that that is not easy to flee. And then in this in like brackets, Fremeseth, there will there. I take this as kind of like so it's like try he that wants to. I take it as almost like you can try if you want.
Yeah, I
Like
think so. Um, sort of a subjunctive. Uh, yeah, may he try who wants.
um
Tell him the God's gonna cut him down.
but
This is the Old English version of a Johnny Cash song.
I like the idea that we've got this far through and we haven't noticed that it's just straight up Johnny Cash lyrics translated into Old English.
I should I should I should read my next bit the next time we do this, like it's a Johnny Cash song.
That's a nice way of shaking it up.
Yeah,
We must
I'll just strum a guitar pointlessly while I do it.
get a lyre.
I mean,
Uh,
it would mix things up a little bit.
you should
Maybe
what you should what's that, sorry?
I'll record it in a prison. That would really
Prison.
be really Johnny Cash. Yeah. Um,
Record it in prison with a lyre and just do completely random things with the lyre. And then when people comment angrily, just say, "We there's no recordings. We can't know how they played them. They just like hit it with a saucepan or something. We can't know that they didn't do this."
it's true. Who were you to say?
Um, so yeah, but um, soul bearers, people who have souls, must oppose. Um, hmm, compelled by need. I'm struggling with this one a little bit. Hang on, let me go back and see if there's anything. Bible deans.
Well, part of what's going on, I think, is that like soul bearers, um, Berna, Grunduindra, these are all genitive plurals.
Oh, okay. But
Um,
okay. So of people who have souls.
or do you seek something in the genitive in Old English? Like that wouldn't be that weird to me from an Old Norse perspective because you seek in the genitive in Old Norse, but I don't think Old English is as fond of that stuff. Um, look
So
for the
I've got your suck on as oppose, but I could
oh, it's not even seek. The second, hold
let,
on.
let
What
me
are you?
look at pause with Tom.
What are you looking? Oh, okay. That's actually you actually have a different verb than I've got. All right. So this
Oh, wait,
says 1001, 2, 3, 4. So
I keep
on 1004, you've got your sock on.
hmm.
What does the manuscript say? Let's see. Gotta dig through this. All right. Manuscript does say Yasakon, but Kleber amends to Yasakon.
Okay.
So I didn't realize that was an inundation here. Um, all right, what does it say in the commentary? Let's see if that clears this up at all. Um, all right. So if you look up lines 1002 to 8 in the commentary on Kleber, it says, in essence, it is not easy to flee death, which is a nice, just,
I feel we've definitely done stuff like that before where we've gone, I don't exactly understand how the sentence is arranged, but this seems to be what it means. Um,
yeah. Um, okay. So the parallel, quoting the commentary in Kleber, fourth edition, the parallel genitives, Sol Berenda, Nitha Berna, Grundbuendra, depend on Yerwa Stoa. Um, Nida Stoa, the place forced upon him by necessity, i.e., Yanida modifies Stoa.
oh, God, that's horrible. Wait,
Yeah, it sort
so
of is because it's pretty far from it. Huh.
so 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 Nuda modifies Stolway. Um, so
Let's see if I can make anything out of this that sounds halfway decent because all those genitives are rough.
so but hang on. So what what are we taking as the subject of your succon?
Good question.
Or maybe that's just something part of the previous sentence.
I mean, if you assume that there's like a emulated each
Yeah.
filch or something here, like each of the soul bearers of the children, the Barana, the ground dwellers, um, should seek, if we take the emendation there, the stow, the place, which is what, like forced Unita, something like that. Um,
Yeah, forced works. So hang on.
I mean, once you're past Stoa, I get it, but between, but 103 to 106 or 104 to 106 is weird.
So are the genitives stacked so that it's each of the soul bearers of the men's children of the ground?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. Shall like seek the forced place. entirely Unida, you know. Um,
Okay.
I don't know what Nita is doing exactly. It's
Mu- Is is hmm,
by necessity. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. If it's a data to need, so by necessity, Nita each. I don't know where the each is, but just take it as implied, like a Welch or something, of the soul bearers, of the children of men, of the ground dwellers, shall seek, must seek a place forced, like upon them, probably um, completely. Yerwin,
thank
certainly.
you. Thank you very much for doing that, despite the fact that it wasn't your. I would
Well,
I would have
it's
given up on that, I think.
no, I mean, like that just occurred to me as the way to read it. Like I hadn't seen that till just now, um, as a way to get through it. But that's still assuming that there's a like a which or something left out there, you
Yeah,
know, like quilch.
yeah.
Because I
I
don't
think
see it. I don't see a
I
damn thing that could be nominative.
no, I can't see a subject anywhere. Okay. Thank you very much for helping me through that one. Hurrying me entirely through that one. Um, okay. So um, there his body sleeps after the feast, uh, still in deathbed, still in its deathbed, lay in bed there. Um,
I'm gonna have to plug in this laptop.
then it was the time and occasion that uh, Halfdane's son go to the hall. Um, the king's son himself wanted to take the feast, wanted to have, participate in the feast. I have never heard of when a tribe um, in a greater crowd or like in a greater number, maybe, uh, behaved better or, but well, maybe behaved better is maybe that could be kind of reworded a little bit to, behaved more. Um, maybe that implies like behaved more harmoniously around their treasure giver, like or behaved better in maybe treated their treasure giver better.
I think
Um,
that's reasonable. Because we get so many weird asides about unhappy associations of people, families, and whatever.
yeah, that's true. Bowed then, so like Glad Arginde, something owners. So I've seen people translate this as fame bearers, but I think it could also be breath havers, like people who are still alive, because I think that's an acceptable translation of Glad. Um,
Huh.
so it could be like famous people, or it could be people who had survived. Um, maybe. Um, so Glad Arginde, Ulgonthar Torbencher, breath owners, um, bowed then to the bench, sat down in the bench, celebrating in a feast. Um, so joyously received mead cups many. So maybe this is like Tharamaras, their friends joyously received mead cups many, um, strong-hearted in the high hall, Hrothgar and Hrothulf. So,
And
so this
Hrudolf
is
is
Hroth.
Hrothgar's nephew.
So is this Hroth Kraki?
Yeah, it would be. And I think he's
Yeah.
I think he's Rutger's nephew.
So So I think the implication here is it's still the subject is still um, well, no, okay. So when it says their friends, I assume it's like the friends of the tribe uh, joyously received many mead cups, strong-hearted in the high hall, and the friends of the tribe are Hrothgar and Hrothulf. Um,
Or
Herod in,
sons of tribe. I would normally take Mag and Magas as a son rather than friend.
oh, okay,
Um,
okay, that makes sense. Yeah, maybe I'm imagining like a maybe I'm thinking of the word Mai, hang on, which
well, it can sometimes be used as just a general word for man. I mean, it was used of Grendel not too long ago here. But
yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, I see. So I've misread that as having an ash in it.
well, it is the plural, right? Because it's like
Oh, because in
they,
that
plural Dagas.
because there's a back vowel, it wouldn't have the front vowel. Minus, yeah, okay, okay, I get you. Okay, so they're sons of the tribe, Hrothgar Hrolf. So Herod inside was filled with friends or kinsmen. Um, I I don't know why the way I've glossed this I find so funny. I don't know if it's, but like absolutely no treacherous deeds the people of the Scyldings all the while did. The whole time they did absolutely no treacherous deeds whatsoever. That's how it seems like nullless is like a very strange way of saying like not strange, like a very emphatic way of saying like none at all.
Yeah, I mean, like as many times as the narrator digresses about families falling apart or something, it does almost sound like protesting too much.
Yeah. This time. Um
Right. Like this should be in everybody's Christmas card, right?
yeah,
This year, no treacherous deeds were done among our family. Well,
none
what are
that
you
can be
contrasting this with?
um okay. Then to Beowulf, the child of Halfdane rewarded a uh golden sign or maybe like flag to reward victories. Uh,
I think
and
Brond is sword, isn't it? I think we're just not seeing what the subject is, right?
which one's this? Sorry,
Brond is sword, right? Like I don't think it's child.
I'm looking at.
Oh, okay. Once again, you have a different text up on there. Okay, so that says 1020 Bairn. What does it say in the manuscript? In the manuscript, it says Brond sword. So it looks like there's
Okay.
actually not a subject actually stated in the manuscript. Um, but if he is giving someone, I mean, probably Hrothgar, right? Then gave Beowulf the sword of Halfdan. I think
Oh,
that makes plenty of sense. Like it's just an unstated subject, which we had not long ago in the same fifth. Believe it or not,
wait.
subject.
So what? So is it after Fordialthar Beowulf?
Yeah. So
So
in the
gave
manuscript, this Bairn is Brond sword.
so forgave then. So presumably, help Hrothgar gave then Beowulf sword of Halfdane.
Yeah, which I think is
Okay, okay. So then maybe Saiyan means something more general than like sign,
well.
like
I think
maybe
it could. I think it will. I think everything else said is fine, right? Like it's almost like a golden sign for reward of victory.
like a token
Like
of kind of
I think
thing.
that could be okay.
Okay.
Um,
to reward victories. Rodin Hildekumbur. I mean, that makes the word hilt make a bit more sense, I suppose. Um, Adorned hilt standard. Um,
I mean, I guess the saying could also just straight up be like a banner. Um,
yeah, I mean, because well, that's obviously the translation that I found in Bosworth Toller, so that might be
yeah,
tainted.
okay. I think looking at Claver's glossary, that makes more sense. So if there's a sword and there's a banner,
Okay.
yeah,
So there's a sword and a banner, adorned hilt standard, helm and like armor shirt burning.
yeah.
Um, great oh yeah, okay. So great treasure sword, Marim Marzum Swell. Uh, many saw brought before the prince. Beowulf took a cup off the ground. Um, so Sheldendum, I got a bit confused by, and bless you, that looked violent. Are you okay?
Yeah, yeah. All right. Um,
Sheldendum, I've looked at Slade's translation, and I think he says something like payment, which makes sense in context, but I couldn't find. Um, I might just be being stupid, but I've translated that as payment just on that basis, but that's nabbed from somebody else's translation. Um,
I I think I think
oh,
for Sheotintem, I think Sheotind is just there because it alliterates with Shani. And I
okay,
think it's just another word for like man, warrior, because it would just be the present participle to shoot, right? So it's the shooting ones, the archers, the fighters.
oh,
Like
okay,
so I think it's like before them, before these other warriors
right,
is what for Sheotind is probably doing.
okay, that makes a lot of sense. So before the the shooters, the shooting people, um, he didn't have to feel shame uh, in relation to the wealth gift. Like he had no reason to feel guilty about having received this gift, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the sense because it's such an over the top seeming gift, right? I mean, it's not just a sword; it's a modern sword, right? And then you got this helmet and this armor and the banner, and plus he wants him to be his kid or whatever. So,
Yeah,
but like he has no reason to be ashamed of it. Like he's done plenty of cool stuff.
he deserves this gift. Um, I have not heard of um, four treasures adorned with gold uh, more graciously. Um, or okay, so maybe like I haven't heard of four treasures more graciously adorned with gold. Um, or maybe it's the men who are there's no more gracious. So I haven't heard of um,
I think without another ending, Brown Liquor is going to be adverbial.
like more gracious, more friendlily.
Yeah, like generously, you know.
So I haven't heard of four treasures adorned with gold. Um, more graciously given uh, to others or to another to others uh, of many men on an ale bench. Like, would it be reasonable to translate gummana as like by many men? like the treasures are being given by many men to Beowulf,
Yeah, I think
or because that would normally be dated, wouldn't it? That kind of that sense.
how I would put this. I never heard four treasures to be given. I think I would take that Yasel and infinitive as sort of passive here. Um, adorned with gold on an ale bench. Yeah, given to another other. Um, I haven't heard many men, is maybe what I should say. I haven't heard many men to give. Okay, yeah, I think that's what's going on. So, nay, Fradnage, I haven't heard many men, fellow Gumana, to give to others, Isel and Otherum, for treasures in a more friendly fashion, adorned with gold on the ale bench. Yeah. So, like, none of the pieces are exactly where we would put it in normal modern English syntax, but yeah, like I haven't ever heard of very many men giving for treasures like that in such a gracious way to another man on an ale bench that are adorned with gold, something like that.
I love the prosody in that when you read it in English.
I haven't heard of many men who've done. I mean, that does kind of seem to be what it is, right? He's emphasizing just how generous Hrothgar is. Um, I
Okay,
think that's the idea.
I mean, like it's one of those things again where you can look at it and you can basically know what they're saying, but it's just like translating it's. I mean, I feel like that's what you said must be it. Um,
Sometimes I start with a sense of like, what is he used to saying?
yeah. Right. Thank you for carrying me through another one of those.
I
Um,
try.
Jumstas helmetproof around the helmet's like roof. Um, Head shelter, um, wound with wires. I don't know if that's just like very, very thin kind of adornments. Um, the um, so what have I done with Wallon here? So I couldn't find Walla, I think it means something like root as far as I could work out. Um, as and the the example given in Bosworth Toller is a um, root in the sense of like the kind of core of the conceptual kind of core of a matter. So rather than it being like tree root, more like the point. And that doesn't seem to make sense here. Could it? I wonder if it could be related in some way to like wat, like the word meaning like the dead or like slaughter. Um,
Yeah, so Kleber amends that to Walu,
okay,
um, which is interesting. So could it be perhaps in that case, it
oh
held outside, it held the slaughter outside, right? The helmet protects people, so it holds that
yeah,
slaughter out there. I don't know. It sounds
that's,
okayish to me.
that's how
Um,
I wasn't sure how that would work with the Wallan, but now you've said that I feel like that's how I would want to read.
yeah, I think that amendation to Walu is
Reason.
reasonably justifiable. Yeah. Or here's something interesting. Looking in the glossary of Kleber, actually, Walu can also be a ridge. Um, so if so, it held a ridge on the outside, right, like a crest, perhaps.
Right.
It's a
Okay.
crest. That may be even better.
Yeah.
Um,
Because then that complements like the Weedon Bewunden.
yeah, because it's more about the decoration and the whale, as in the slaughter, usually refers to the people being slaughtered, not to the act of slaughter. So that's probably actually the best way to take it.
Okay. Yeah, that's perfect then. If I get Kleber, I can help you out more with I feel out of my depth here. No, I'm not doing that badly. Um
No, you're not. Just send me your address. I'll get you clear.
Oh no, it's all right. No, I'll get it for myself at some point. I just keep forgetting. I do. I appreciate that though. Thank you. Um, that to him, many remnants. Um, Horribly could not like so sure hard. I've read as like shower hard, like don't know, like hard against like things falling on it. Um, Shevan is like I think that's another variant of that word meaning like scathed, kind of like hurt. I'll just check them.
Oh, I think that's a causative, yeah, to harm. Um, so I think that it's like many, heirloom swords might not, many like, yeah, battle hardened swords might not damage him, the bold one, break them, something like that. Um,
When the shield fighter must go against enemies. Um,
I think that's good.
then the Earl's protector ordered 8 horses with ornamented like cheeks um, to be brought on the floor in under now Elderas Bosworth Toller has various translations like houses and things like that. Although I think Slade translates it as I, I can't remember the exact word, but something like awnings or in under the through the door basically. Um,
Actually, isn't this the home of Theoden, the king of Rohan? I should be knowing that.
I
Um,
I hope someone comments that.
I think that actually is where that comes from.
Or
Um,
what having now I've seen one of the Lord of the Ring, one and a half Lord of the Rings films, and I've never read the books. So
I I still think you should be doing that right now. You should be doing a Simon Roper reads Lord of the Ring.
I at some point I will. I to be honest, I struggled with the film. I think it was because there was so much going on that I struggled to keep track of it. And so I ended
So so the horrible thing that I could propose here is that you and I should make that a podcast, right? Simon Roper and Jackson Crawford read Lord of the Rings. Um, the only thing is we couldn't actually read the entire thing because there's copyright issues, so it would have to be just like a commentary, right? But
yeah.
um, yeah.
Wasn't that like a thing about like I can't remember the exact details, but wasn't it like um Tolkien wanted it to be like open access after he died, and he basically wanted anyone to be able to use the characters and write their own stories, and then like the estate stopped it or something like that. I'm not sure.
I don't know, but that's something to think about. Actually, it'd be especially funny if, like, I don't know. I think that you not having read it would make that actually a podcast people would listen to. Um,
Maybe.
it would definitely help counterbalance people's loathing for listening to my voice, right?
I
But
don't think people loathe listening to you.
but then we could bring in Ronnie Erie or maybe Luke Gordon. I don't know. One of those Lukes might be a fun addition to that.
Yeah, that's true. Who would play the little goblin thing?
Precious. Yeah, I can do that voice okay-ish, especially when my respiratory system is more normal.
Sure. If we could convince Andy Serkis to come in, I'm sure people would.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Um,
So brought on the floor in under the like awnings or whatever. Um, of them, one stood saddle decorated kind of like artfully or intricately, worthied uh, with treasures, by treasures. That was the High King's battle seat. Um, when the son of Halfdane wanted to Evnun, like to I've read this as like, so it's related to the word even, I think. So it's like level in the sense of maybe in a similar sense to how you might say like the bomb leveled the house, like level in battle, or like get even with people maybe in sword play.
It also
Um,
just means like do. So um, I think you're going too far on it. Yeah, I think it's just like do, perform, make. Like it's a pretty general verb.
okay, okay. Um, okay, so in that case, so that was the battle seat that was the High King's battle seat um, when the son of Halfdane wanted to uh, engage in sword play. Um, never on order. I've translated like maybe like in front. Uh, hang on, how would I order this? Does that make sense in order? So never in front failed, widely known. Um,
Well, orders, yeah, front, beginning. So, um, well, there's that slaughter word, Walu, for sure. Um,
I feel like I think I've read this as like fairly short and contained, like uh, widely known like war ability. Um,
I wonder if weed tooth, being the widely known one in the genitive here, I wonder if that's standing in for like Hrothgar, like that widely known man's war
oh, okay,
never lay like on the doorstep, like right out front of this place when
okay,
battles when dead men fell. Like they're never fighting right there. Like he keeps his enemies far enough away. I don't know. It's not easy.
no, that's a tricky one. I feel like that's a reading that's like cohesive at least. And yeah, here's this wild word. Um, so um, when the dead fell, and then to Beowulf, um, protector of Ing's friends, um, of both of treasures of horses and of weapons. So okay, and then bestowed power to Beowulf, the protector of Ing's friends. Uh,
I think that's right. Yeah, I think Ed or
both,
England is probably Hrothgar.
yeah, okay, and then like both of treasures of horses and of weapons.
Yeah,
Command,
because it that just goes two lines down and gets you both things, Wija and Wabna.
and then Heitina well Brukan like commanded him well to use them well, commanded him well use.
That's right.
Um, they I'm taking the subject as they here. They so manlily, they in such a manly way, um, paid um, the most famous, the great chief. Um,
I think the great chief is just Hrothgar and that he's the subject, right? He's the Maratheoden
okay, okay,
in
in that
his
case,
Edoras.
So the great chief so manlily of battle paid of battle rushes, paid like for his battle rushes maybe. Um, the horde ward of here. Well, I suppose the horde, if he's a horde ward, then that's probably also um Hrothgar, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you have two designations for Hrothgar in a row.
So the great chief, the horde ward of heroes, um, in such a manly way, maybe manly in the sense of like chivalrous, almost like um, paid um, for, I'll say, four battle rushes um, in horses and in treasures. Um, and in that respect, this is another one of those places where it ends, and I think the wording's really fun. Like in that respect, one could never blame them. He that wants to say the truth of what's right, kind of thing. Like
Yeah,
it's swar, like in that way, in them one um, never one blame the one that say wants to truth after right. So that in that respect, you could never blame them.
yeah. I think there's some interesting long defensive passages in these fits that we've had. You know, there's Beowulf kind of defending himself about like, well, I'm sorry, I don't have the entire monster for you. And then
Yeah,
we have this sort of defensive, like, yeah, Hrothgar's giving him a lot of cool stuff, but nobody ever will find fault with that.
yeah, yeah,
Almost like he's sort of aware of how extravagant all these gifts sound,
yeah.
something like that.
Maybe that's it's probably overreading it, but maybe could well, this is definitely overreading it. I was going to say if there was some kind of maybe known thing within stories of like sometimes people get paid too handsomely or sometimes there's a bit there's excess, but in on this occasion this is justified kind of thing. But
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's like a proverbial instance of someone getting overpaid. Um, but of course, I work in academia, so I've never heard of anyone getting overpaid. Um, yeah, I don't know. Um, but it is funny that that's sort of like this note of defensiveness about it. Like
yeah,
a sword, horses, armor, and a helmet. Whoa, man, slow down. It's like as if the audience is kind of just like, he did it.
like Oprah
um,
like throwing out cars at people.
yeah, right. I mean, the horse was so much, but yeah. Um, I don't know. Like you would expect that if anybody was being defensive about it, it would actually be put into Beowulf's mouth, right? Like, oh, of course, I couldn't. I couldn't. You already gave me this awesome sword, you know. Like
Yeah,
that's the context I'd actually expected it, but it's weird for the narrator to do it.
yeah,
And I would have never noticed that if I weren't, working through this line by line the same way.
yeah, yeah. I like the idea that at the end it like cuts to the narrator in his like drawing room or something, and like the narrator turns around and it's Beowulf, age 75.
And that young man was me. Yeah, something like that. That would put a different twist on this. Um, I don't think there's a single entirely first person narrated
Yeah.
action poem in Old English or Old
Oh
Norse.
no, I'm not sure there is.
Not
Well, I think
entirely. Like there's an occasional aside. Somebody says, "I did this thing," but it
yeah.
doesn't. It's not the entire, not the entire narrative.
Well, I mean, this seems to be in some sense told from somebody's perspective. But the person is like the storyteller who has nothing to do with the story at all.
Yeah, I have
Um,
heard it told,
yeah,
but that's
exactly.
also common in other old Germanic languages. I mean, Hildebrand's lead starts "Ich gehorte that second," right? I
Yeah,
heard it told. Um, and in Old Norse, you very often see like um, it's actually almost more lampshaded because you get like men kveda at, right? Men say that, or like um, at mana sorgen, right? Like according to men's telling. Um, so there's always that kind of narrative distance. It would be funnier and more 21st century for there to be like a frame device where fit one and then the last fit are set, in some nobody old man is telling the story, and then like the very last bit, it's like, and that was me. And the
Yeah,
kids who have been like saying, "Oh, who needs this useless old man?" Like, whoa, no way, you're Beowulf. That's right.
I really like that idea.
That's right, you little shits. I'm Beowulf. Yeah. Um,
But what have
I
you
don't
done?
know.
What have you done in the
Yeah,
last years, old man? How
exactly.
relevant?
What have you done in your Yeogoth?
Yeah.
I'm in my Dugoth here, and uh, I don't know. That would I'm enjoying that idea. I mean, maybe the 49th Beowulf movie and the 21st century will feature a device like this.
Oh, if they'd replace the Oppenheimer movie with a 49th Beowulf movie.
So, odd fact, I have read the book that Oppenheimer movie is based on 4 times.
I didn't know it was based on a book, like a novelization of it.
American Prometheus, the biography of G. Robert Oppenheimer. Bizarrely enough, that book is like 2,000 pages. I've read it 4 times.
Well, I can believe it's 2,000 pages based on how long the film was, which I saw last night. But to be fair, I mean, I look like films that are 3 hours long. I normally get bored, but I genuinely didn't get bored. I was always like interested in what was happening,
Yeah, I
and I
went
did.
myself. It's definitely more focused on the hearings than I thought. I thought there'd be more stuff about Los Alamos. Fun little fact: one of my great grandfathers worked at Los Alamos on the Manhattan Project.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's very strange.
yeah.
Did you?
I guess it's strange. Los
Well,
Alamos.
strange in the sense that there can't have been that many people working on it, and you have like a connection.
No, pretty small. Yeah, my mom's dad actually grew up at Los Alamos. Um, Los Alamos is actually like a lot of northern New Mexico really looks like Colorado,
Right.
right? Because it's still the Rockies up there. So that was actually something that kind of took me out of the movie a little bit, is they make Los Alamos look like it's out in the desert. Los Alamos is actually out in the mountains, so it looks
Mm.
more like it's it's not really as desert looking as that, but still, I think they filmed it in New Mexico. Um, anyway, yeah, it was decent. It was the first movie in a long time that I thought, yeah, I think I'll go see that. Um, just because I've read that damn book so many times. But it's a
Yeah.
really interesting story.
It's very interesting. I knew basically nothing about it before watching the film.
Well, the book's worthwhile, but it also drags on a long time in the trials and such. I'm gonna depart before long. I've got to run another errand.
Yeah.
Um, thank you as always, Simon.
Yeah.
And
Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone for coming along and making this worthwhile.
yeah, thank you to Simon's Patreon and my Patreon and those who overlap. And I guess we are back to doing this more regularly. So we will try to have um, well, we'll talk and figure out when we're going to do the next one.
I'll
Hopefully,
give more notice next time.
yeah. All right, Simon.
Yeah.
Thank you. All the best,
Thank
everybody.